Bless your
I guess
heart.
the fans are in for more little tokens from Jim Telfer after
No,
last week's.
I actually, before we get started,
I know I'm waiting for it. I'm ready.
Before we get started, are we actually live yet?
Yeah. Nobody's here yet.
I would like to apologize to anyone who got offended with my little rant last week on the podcast. I don't take back everything I say. I stand by everything I said, but I could have probably vocalized it a little bit better. And I just want to make clear that it wasn't aimed at anybody who was watching or that was on the comments at the time. It was aimed at a specific person or persons who had posted on other stuff. Was Jason and what happened to Jason. So apologies if anyone got offended. Like I said,
if I ever have Cheeto stains on my shirt, I'm gonna feel real insecure going forward. That's all I'm saying.
Everyone's making sure they've got a clean shirt on this week.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to say that and apologize, and to Nate as well if I lowered the tone of your podcast.
Jim, I know
it's not possible. I don't think the Lord.
When I'm bringing you on, I know what I'm getting. You're nothing more than a poor man's Robin. I don't mean that, Jim.
It's all right. I take it.
With a Robin the quality of you should not be stuck with a Batman like me.
I mean, at least I come on here and I apologize to people after I've upset them. Unlike some people.
Is there anybody else who wants to jump on and make an apology? Is anyone else?
Jim, what is your occupation?
I'm an air traffic controller.
Okay.
Move there. Yeah.
It's kind of like being God without having all the crazy people following you.
They got to go back and review that security clearance now after last week.
I should never have been given it in the first place.
Yeah, no kid, man. Boy.
I think we should take that clip and just send it to his employer and say, "Is this the type of person that you want to employ?
Oh, they've seen worse than that.
The type of person you want to represent you."
They've seen worse than that. Don't worry.
Well, now that we got that out of the way,
our new cue for Jim to be able to talk is just to say, "Clear the land, Jim.
Clear the land. Runway open." Yeah. So what we're going to talk about then, Batman?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you guys just wanted to get on here to talk about what wine you were drinking, Jim.
Oh, you asked me. Yeah.
Well, technically, Rob did.
What is that?
Hey, Rob. Hey, Rob. How you doing? It's been a little while. How you feeling?
It has been.
It's a little too cold for golf now. A little too cold for golf, huh?
I'm done golfing. Yes.
You got any snow up there yet?
Next week.
Got any snow up there yet?
Yes, a little bit. Trace. That's all we got.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're going to talk about. I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about first? You guys want to talk about the Eurotour? You want to talk about Mosconi Cup first? Rob, you haven't been on it.
I want to talk about Jasmine Ocean finishing second and Dancing with the Stars.
No, did she really?
Take it away, Mike.
I didn't even know.
Either did I. So take it away, Mike.
No, that's pretty much it. I think it's pretty cool. She was on this.
How long was that show? Because I've been seeing those videos. Those videos were posted for like 3 months.
Yeah, because she made it all the way to the finals. She was on every week for, probably 12 weeks. Whenever the event was in Austria.
Yeah,
the Predator event in Austria was the first week that she was on the show, and so she kept going from week to week, advancing, and she had mentioned, or Albin had mentioned along the way that they didn't think she would last very long, but she made it all the way to the final. So she went through 7-8 weeks rounds of things, and apparently she did pretty well, and she's didn't surprise me a lot because she's an athlete.
Right.
I mean,
that's what I was just about to say, Nick.
Yeah, and she had Album. They work out with trainers. She's got great hand-eye coordination, obviously, and she's in great shape and athletic. Yeah. So
a good ambassador.
That she could pick up dance moves, and she's a good speaker. I'm sure she was great for that show. I mean, she's fantastic. So congratulations to her. It's been a while since she's picked up a cue. But I don't think that'll slow her down much, and maybe she's got a backup career now.
I was going to say, I think her backup career might be pool. What do you think?
Mike?
Maybe she could use some of the dance moves around the table as she's going from ball to ball.
Oh yeah, she can do her her imitation of Tom Cruise.
Yeah, right.
I mean, how great is it that there's a country where when they're, I mean, it's basically a celebrity show. It's a little bit like the Get Me Out of Here in the Jungle or whatever it is, and that kind of thing. It's only celebrities that get invited to. So the fact that in Austria she's considered to be a celebrity is only good for the sport. We need more celebrities. We need them all to be recognized in all different countries. So maybe it's a good start.
Well, maybe Earl can get on Dancing with the Stars in the U.S.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Oh, here we go again. That didn't take long, huh, Mike?
You just couldn't stop. You just couldn't help yourself.
He just set it up. He just set himself up.
I had my thumb on the mute button. I just couldn't do it.
First of all, you have to be a star. 6 minutes here.
I wish we had that screenshot from Earl that I seen in the group chat where he goes off on Panozzo again for a fourth time.
It's a badge of honor when you get personally called out by Earl on his Facebook page. Because
which time?
3 posts a year. And to call you out on one of them is pretty good.
It's already been decided, Mike, that if USA have a terrible week and Earl can't win a point, it's already been decided it's your fault, apparently. Earl's already singled you out as the person responsible for him playing badly.
I'm happy to take the blame.
I was feeling great. One call from Mike Panozzo at Billiards Digest. Now I don't care anymore. All everyone wants to do for me to get mad. Too many haters in the pool. What a shame.
His mental game is just such a liability, boys. I mean, come on. You're gonna let Panozzo put you on tilt that bad? I mean,
Panozzo?
He's gonna have a long week.
I was going to say,
wait till Jim gets about 13 beers in.
Wait till he gets a piece of me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Wait till he takes a bite out of this sandwich.
Mike, in your career, when you first started out at the magazine, what was Earl's status in the pool world in the United States at that time?
When I started, he wasn't even playing.
Okay.
So, I saw when he first came up, the first couple events that he was at when he started making his name for himself. And we've always gotten along. We've always battled, and we've had our head-to-heads because I didn't always agree with the way he acted and or talked about pool or whatever. But we were always, friendly enough. I mean, he was on the cover of the magazine more times, I think, than anyone. And I was continually doing stories with him, allowing him to apologize for whatever had ticked off people, in the previous tournaments or what he had said, or a Mosconi Cup or whatever. Our relationship was always really good. After, a week or two ago when we had our podcast and I questioned how he would be able to handle it and would he be able to handle it, that kind of set him off. So, as someone said, if it takes as little as something from someone like me questioning, how he'll handle things for him to go sideways, that doesn't bode well for anyone. I wish him well. I called him up, and actually that's the phone call he was referring to. I called him up. He said, "Listen, I'm here to wish you well. No one wants you to do better than I do." And that's true. I mean, he's one of the greatest players ever to play, the best 9-ball player I ever saw play for sure. And one of the smartest players. I mean, he's got it all. And when he gets it all together, he's something to watch. So I would like to see that Earl show up and play. But if I've got to get, question anytime I question whether or not he can handle the pressure or handle the crowd or whether he's going to go off the rails, then the problem's a lot bigger than me. Trust me.
Let me ask you a question, Mike. And I'm not a big fan of hypotheticals, but I'm going to go down that road here. If Earl, let's say, plays well, is there still room for him, like on the Matchroom stage, like outside of the Mosconi Cup? You think?
You mean in terms of World Cup of Pool or World Pool Masters, that type of thing?
Yeah.
I would say probably not, because I would like to think that Matchroom would stick to rankings or something close to rankings for who it invites to World Cup of Pool and World Pool Masters. Now, if you get into something like Championship League Pool or, one of their other larger scale invitational events, then yeah, absolutely. He's got room there because his game can handle it. His game, he can still play with anybody. And while he's gone off the air at times at Matchroom events and said, sometimes bizarre things, it's not like you have to worry about him, hitting someone over the head with a cue or, doing something that someone's going to get sued for. It's just, do things get uncomfortable? Do things get a little embarrassing? Whatever. If that's the worst that can come out of it, then yeah, you take a chance and you put them in events you can put them in, but I don't think you put them in an event where you can only take one or two Americans.
Well,
fair point.
I think the American side is a little bit more, I don't want to say wide open because I think Sky's legitimately number like 1B, and so it'd be hard to kind of, move him over for Earl, but the guy, like, those little YouTube clips are just great, I think, for the sport because it gets people like excited whether they're talking about it, the drama or God, I can't believe he had a meltdown like that. I just like when people are talking about the game,
regardless.
So, and those things go and rake up views.
Yeah, they do. They do. You don't want to turn things into a sideshow for the sake of ratings, right? So there's a fine line there, and you just, you hope that promoters like Matchroom know where that line is and try to stay on one side of it.
Yeah, but that's why I said at the beginning, it's more of like if he plays well, like, when it, like, not necessarily if USA wins or not, but just if Earl goes and performs.
Yeah.
So I mean, like fundamentally he has to, right? Because I mean, you're there to play pool.
Yeah. Listen, how cool would it be for pool as a sport if you had a 60-year-old who had, comeback player of the year potential and all of a sudden ends up playing again and I don't know if he wins tournaments or not, but it competes well again. That's a story in and of itself. I mean, you can you come out of a tournament with two stories: the person who won and the fact that this 60-year-old made the Final Four. There's not many sports you can do that, and it's incredible that he's still at that level, which I'm sure is attributed to all the sit-ups. But it's just
12,000.
It's just, when you think of other guys who are 60, they can't shoot like that anymore. They still know the game as well as they did. And Nick Varner or players like that, they still know the game, but their stroke's just not as straight. Their nerves aren't as steady. All that kind of stuff that Earl still has that at 60 to be playing at the level he's at is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And I think, all kidding aside, it does. I mean, he does take seriously his regimen of staying in shape. I don't know what the actuality of what that is, but I give him credit for taking himself seriously. He takes himself seriously as an athlete. That was one thing that from the very beginning, one of the things that Earl always focused on and talked about was wanting pool players to be treated as sportsmen and athletes. Because he thought that that's what was required to play the game at the top level. And he was always bothered that pool players, top players, never got that type of recognition. And so, he's always had that mindset. And I think that's great. Mm-hmm. Good for him. It's probably what's kept him able to play as well as he does at 60. So, it would be great to see him play well. I'd love to see him play well. I mean, I'm a journalist. I'm a writer. The easiest story in the world to write would be if Earl plays well and the U.S. wins. I could write that in my sleep.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I usually do.
We've talked about it before, and we're saying what pool needs is for it to extend its reach to people that have maybe never watched pool before or don't watch it as much as we would like them to watch it. But Earl is one of those guys that even for people who don't watch pool, they know who he is for some reason. I've had conversations with people at work who know that I'm a bit of a pool fanatic, and they talk about, they're asking me, so you're going to this, is it this Ryder Cup thing this year? So yeah, Mosconi Cup. Oh yeah, you're going to that? Yeah. So yeah, I watched it a couple of times when I was a kid. Who was the American guy with the moustache that was always a little bit crazy? And I'm like, Strickland, yeah, Earl Strickland. And they all know Earl Strickland. Ask them to name one other American player from the 90s to 2000s. They might come up with a Shane Van Boening recently.
Jeanette.
Other than that, that's it. They don't know the names of these guys, but Strickland, for some reason, Strickland sticks in their head. It's just an aura that he has, and he's got that. It's almost like a charisma that he has. That for some reason, people just remember him, you know, for the good things, for the bad things, and whether you like it or not, I mean, there's not many people. We talked about Jeanette Lee saying that she transcends the sport. Earl's kind of the closest to that in the men's game, you know, that actually transcends the sport, you know. Efren would have been also if he had been a European or an American and the television views had come through as much over in Europe or in other parts of the world, the way that it did for Earl.
Well, I'll tell you what, like you're talking about the Western world, because Efren is a legend.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I'm talking about people that I talk to that talk to me about pool. People that don't play the game, they never go to a pool hall, but they know who Earl Strickland is because there's just been one time they've watched the Mosconi Cup and they've seen Earl and they've seen the stuff that he does and they just remember the name Strickland. Oh, the guy with the moustache. Yeah, the American guy. Yeah, he's a bit nutty. They just remember him, you know. So I hope he pulls out the old Earl. I hope he does a bit of that.
It would be pretty poetic. You know,
I hope he does a little bit of everything, really. I hope he does a little bit of everything.
Sports has a lot of moments like that of things just coming together, you know, at wild times, and it makes for an amazing story. So while I'm betting on Europe, it would be pretty awesome to go and see, you know, it going deep.
And what I want him to do is when he wins one of his matches, he lifts up his shirt and he's got another T-shirt underneath with a F.U. Panozzo, F.U. Panozzo on it or something.
I could use the attention.
I thought you were going to say
that's your night.
Painted on his chest, will go up.
Painted on his abs, you know, on his six-pack. That's for Mike. Something like that, you know.
He just like puts like a new letter on each individual ab, like F-U-M-I-K-E.
Exactly. Showing off his six-pack.
Hopefully he doesn't have an 8-pack. We don't really know. Maybe you can do a couple of exclamation marks or something.
Well, if you're doing that many push-ups and sit-ups in a day, then you're going to have a few packs. That's for sure. Yeah.
So I think there's a couple of really good questions out there in the chat. We'll start with this one because it seems chronologically most relevant. The fan voting is out now for the fans' choice for the singles and the doubles. I'm right in saying that there was never a fans' choice for doubles in the previous year. Right? This is the first year.
Yeah, first year.
Okay. So let's talk about this one. Rob, you haven't been on the show for a little while. Who do you want to see for a fans pick between US and Europe? And of course, it's Albin Ocean, Jason Shaw, Eklund Kachi, David Al-Qaidi, and Joshua Filler. On the U.S. side, it's Shane Van Boening, Sky Woodward, Earl Strickland, Tyler Steyer, and Chris Reinhold. Who are you wanting to see on both sides for singles?
Yeah, I want to see Earl and Jason.
Earl and Jason?
Yeah.
Any reasons?
Yeah, for the effect of that, with the personality effect of the players, and I think pool players, like a lot of athletes, have their game face and then their life face. And with these two, I think it's notable that when they go into that arena, when they're playing, when they grab that cue stick in their hand, that's a game face they're going to have. And they're both very strong in that area. They're both dominant, powerful characters in the sport, and that's what I'd like to see, really, to start things off. If really serious, if Earl can go out there and really perform that opening singles match, and win it, I think that's just going to be such a huge boost for the whole team morally.
All right, Panozzo, what do you got? We know you're picking Earl. Who are you picking on the Europe side?
I agree with that. I would go. You know, it depends. If you're looking for the marquee matchup that's going to draw eyes and it's going to get attention, it's going to have people on the edge of their seat, I'd go Jason against Earl for sure, hands down. You know, I think Josh would be my second pick because he would really he would approach it differently. He would irritate Earl. Jason against Earl, I think that could just be a real, that match could be over in 5 minutes as far as the pace that they shoot at.
You're going to have more commercial time than you will actual play time.
Yeah, no, it's. I think Jason against Earl would be great television.
Right. What you got, Jim?
I think. What do I want? Personally, I want to say. I mean, I like the way the Matchroom try and mix it up, and they try and do a new thing every single year. So this year they've put in that there'll be a fan's choice for a doubles match as well. I don't think it helps the USA. I don't think it helps the USA at all that there's going to be 2 matches in there that are going to be decided by the fans that take the power away from Jeremy to make a tactical selection, because I'm pretty sure Earl will be involved in both of those. It's going to be Earl in the singles, and it's going to be Earl and Shane in the doubles, pretty much guaranteed, I think, because the majority of people that are voting certainly from the European side, they're all going to vote for Earl, and from the USA side, they're all going to vote for Shane, because obviously the USA want the point, and Europe want to see Earl as much as they possibly can. And I don't think that benefits Jeremy, and I don't think it benefits Matchroom's chances of winning. USA's chances of winning the Mosconi Cup. So I mean, I think it'll be Earl. It'll probably be Earl against Jason. That'll be the pick. Who I would want to see, don't really care, to be honest.
You want to see the bottom of a bottle?
Yeah, I will see the bottle of many bottles. If I had to choose a match that I would really, really like to see, and it's not about Mosconi, it's just 2 guys going head to head, then I'd like to see Filler taking on Shane. But I think I'm pretty sure
we've already seen that. We've already seen it, Jim.
Yeah, I know, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be Earl against Jason, and I don't mind Jason getting an extra match. I'm quite happy about that.
All right, what do you think, Mike?
I'd say you better be careful what you hope for putting the old man in the box, because you never know, man. Listen, he can go and strike some magic. But this is the first time in years that you can go and say, like, Shane's chances of being the fans vote are going down by the day, because people are just excited to go and see the Pearl out there on the main stage. I'm with you. I think Earl, and insert any European you want. His clip with Kachi has gone viral. Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Obviously, Filler would instantly go and put him on tilt. Him and Jason with their straight pool video, history. Insert any one of those 3, and I'm happy. But I wouldn't write him off. I think he can go and get there. Race the 5-9 ball. And for sure in the doubles, it's going to be Earl and Shane. I mean, without a doubt. It's going to be Earl and Shane, and I think you're going to end up having Jason and Joshua in there. Yeah. I think they're the two anchors, and I think just because of their personalities. I mean, obviously Albin's playing, the best pool, on earth right now, I think. But people want to go and see those 2 get in the middle, Jason and Josh and Earl, and any which way involved. It's going to be awesome. I mean, and I bet you the votes. I'm curious to see the amount of votes compared to like the last 2 years versus this year, and what those numbers like increase wise look like, because I bet you it's going to go up.
Just because of Earl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I think, if you're JJ, I mean, you're trying to get Shane out there as much as you possibly can, and that was in previous years. That was one of the guaranteed matches he was going to get. Now, I believe he's not going to get that match, and I think that's just one less match for Shane that Jeremy would prefer. He'd want to get Shane in every match he possibly can. He'll be trying to stretch that schedule and finding ways to get Shane in there as much as possible. He said it himself the last time we spoke to him. He feels Shane's playing possibly the best pool of his career. He wants him in as many matches as he can possibly get.
Yeah, but if Shane gets help, Shane will be better if Shane gets help from other guys, because he's not going to feel everything on his shoulders. Then Shane will become more dangerous, I think. But when Shane's when Shane has that pressure, and we've seen it over the years of him having to be that guy for Team USA, and they go as he goes, it can get a little ugly, Yeah,
and I think on top of that, I mean, Shane has been to pick into captain the fans' choice every time, right? Has he won any of them? So really, are they losing? Are they losing any points that they've won in the past? So I take my shot with Earl. And conversely to what you were saying before, Jim, I'm happy that Albin's out a couple of matches.
Yeah, true.
I'll say this, like when kind of going off of your point, Jim, this really actually does hurt the U.S. quite a bit, I think, because sure, if Shane gets in, great. You're getting Shane in one more doubles than you would normally get, and you're getting him potentially in one more singles match. But the point is like you're gonna with this now, because you know that Jason and Josh are probably going to be the doubles for Europe, right? So then you're saying, all right, well, now you're going to be able to get probably Jason or Joshua in the singles, plus they're going to get an extra doubles. They're going to end up getting 6 or 7 bites at the apple in this. And do you really want Jason and Joshua both getting seven swings at this? It's like it doesn't look good for the U.S. if Jason and Jason and Josh are both getting 6 or 7 swings.
It's like Mike said, would you rather that or would you rather Albin getting the 7 shots at it? At the moment, the way everybody's playing, if you're Team USA, you'd rather have Jason getting picked more times than Albin, really, because Albin Albin and Josh are the 2 real hot players at the moment for Team Europe. So I mean, okay, it's not a bad trade for Team Europe. Oh, well, we've got Jason instead of Albin, because he can still shoot, lights out. But I mean, Earl could be playing great. Earl could be really enjoying it, and it could be good for USA if he gets in there and he gets put in that singles match and he gets put in the doubles match and he's playing well. Then yes, it's not a bad pick for USA. But on the other hand, let's say he's playing badly, it's 2 more matches that he's got to play in. If he's not playing badly, it's 2 more matches where the European fans and the European players have the opportunity to get into his head and try and get him over the edge, So either way you look at it, it's...
Either way you look at it, it always comes down to whether or not Earl's going to be able to hold his own, I guess.
Whether he can get Mike Panozzo out of his head.
Well, he's going to be the scapegoat, man. But, I mean,
I don't think scapegoat. I don't think you can call him scapegoat. At the end of the day, it's like we said before.
Were you talking about Earl or me?
Yeah, no, Earl.
Both.
For me, it all depends on what's your attitude. Even if you're playing badly, if you're going to just give up and blame everybody, then yes, then you're asking for it. But if you keep fighting and keep trying, and Earl needs help with that if things are going against him, we know how much he loves Mosconi Cup. We know how much he loves representing the USA. But he needs the people. We talked about Shane needing people around him. Earl needs the people around him for the next match to say, Earl, get out there and show them. Forget about what's happened. And if the Team USA and the rest of the players on his team are not prepared to do that, and they give up on Earl, which we've seen in the past as well. So, I mean, it's not all about Earl. The rest of the other 5 guys that are in that team have to also not give up on Earl. And they have to keep at him and keep pushing him and saying, Earl, you've still got this. You can still go out there. You can still show these assholes in the crowd that you've still got what it takes. If they stop doing that and Earl has the idea that his team has given up on him, which, like I said, they have done in the past, then
I mean, you can give him every rah-rah speech you want, man, but he's got to believe it. That's the thing. You got to get Earl to buy in. That's
good coaching. That's where good coaching comes into it,
But it's tough, man, because,
and to be honest, it's not going to be
ego
Germany.
And a big resume.
Yeah, it's not going to be Germany that's going to end up doing this. It's going to be Shane that's going to have that on his head, because Shane's the guy that Earl listens to. So Shane's going to have that job of, if it starts to go a bit south with Earl, how does Shane get him back playing again? How does he get him back on track? We'll see how it works out. Yeah.
Well, all right, I'll be fast. My pick for single is going to be Shane versus Jason because I want to see it. Jason was playing a lot better pool last year than he was this year, and I think that
let's make a friendly bet. I'll take it's not Shane.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll bet like a dinner or something.
Ooh, at McDonald's, can we make it a filler dinner?
All right, don't spoil me, Nate.
Well, all right, Mike, you can start us off for doubles. Who do you want to see for doubles?
No, I think it's going to be Earl and Shane, 1,000%, without a doubt. And I mean, you can just lock it up. Everybody wants to see the old man play. No matter how it's going, that's what they're going to want to see play. It's going to be Earl and Shane.
17mm shaft.
They want to see him have a flashback, and I kind of like it. You know, listen, you lost last year 11-3. All you got is upside here, you know. So let a couple of those hill matches go and swing Team USA's way. And I'd love nothing more than to see a little bit of pressure on Team Europe, because right now, you know, they're walking into it thinking that, you know, that 30,000's in the bag. So no, I think it'll be Josh and Jason. They got too much personality for TV, and they play really well. And Mosconi Cup, Jason just stands up for the Mosconi Cup. He plays better on that stage.
All right, Panozzo, what you got?
I'll go with the same foursome. Yeah, you got to assume it's going to be Earl and Shane and Jason and Josh, which will be, you know, fun match to watch. And I think you learn a lot about the dynamic between Shane and Earl watching that match, to see if Earl will listen to him at all, if Shane's got any control, if, you know, how they play together. That'll be an interesting thing to watch. So yeah, I think that's the setup. I think what's interesting in this is we keep talking about all these players, and the one guy that we haven't mentioned at all yet is Sky. And I kind of like the fact that, you know, he played terrible last year. I kind of like the fact that he's got a little bit something to prove coming back, and that there's not a lot of, you know, talk about him. I like to see him quietly sneak in there this year and just rob a couple matches. And I think he's got a chance.
But see, that's the whole thing about Team USA. If you look at them all individually, they've all got something to prove. You know, Sky's got something to prove because he didn't play well last year, and he wants to come back and he wants to go at it, and he wants to, you know, prove that last year just wasn't him.
He's a two-time MVP. What are we talking about here? What is he? I mean, like, he always plays solid 9-ball. He may not have played that great last year.
Last year he was poor.
And it was in a bubble, though. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, I know.
So when the lights were on, the guy's a two-time MVP. I mean,
yeah, but he wants to come back. He wants to come back and show that wasn't, you know, that wasn't the real thing. You know, that was a one-off, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you that was a one-off. You know, Tyler wants to prove himself because he's been left out of the team after being on it twice winning. So Tyler wants to prove himself.
Absolutely.
Chris wants to prove himself that he can play well with the public there, as well as playing well last year when there was nobody. People are questioning, can you do it with the public? Right, I'll go out there and I'll prove that I can do it with the public. Earl's back in the team. You know, he's going to want to prove himself. He's going to want to prove himself to the fans. He's going to want to prove himself to Panozzo. He's going to want to prove himself to himself as well. You know, Shane's going to want to prove that, you know, I can be vice captain. I can take that extra stuff on, and I can come out there and I can show you the kind of form that I've showed for the rest of the year. You know, so they're all in there with something to prove. You know,
Earl also has to prove Mike Panozzo wrong. That's his real
1,000%.
motivation.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
bulletin board material.
It should really be a highly motivated team that goes there from USA. There should be no doubts about their motivation. They should be ready to go and ready to prove people wrong. They're getting called the underdogs and big underdogs. They should be there, full power, aggression, and ready to go, kind of thing. Whether or not it works out for them or not, but in the beginning, Europe's going to have to be careful, because in the beginning, that's going to be 5 guys that are fired up, or certainly should be fired up, and ready to go and ready to prove a lot of people wrong. You know, and that's a dangerous combination. So Europe are going to have to be careful in the beginning.
All right, Jim, what's your doubles?
I think the doubles will be this. I go exactly the same. I think Jason and Joshua are pretty much a lock. That's the partnership that everybody wants to see from the European side. It's fast. It's exciting to watch. They get each other going. And I think Earl's just going to get voted by all the Europeans are just going to continually vote Earl. And like I said, Shane's going to get the votes from the US side. So I think it's pretty much guaranteed Shane and Earl. And I think I think that's one of the most magical combinations in the world of pool, when the two of them play together. Earl always seems to enjoy himself playing with Shane. Shane just sits there and nods. He turns his hearing aid off and just nods when Earl starts talking. It's fantastic to watch. You know he's not listening to him. You just know he's not listening to him. He's just sort of going, it's fantastic. And Earl can just say all the crap he wants to say. He's got somebody he thinks is listening to him, who actually doesn't hear a word he's saying. Is just like, it's just
so
fantastic.
Disrespectful, Jim.
So no, but it is. Shane's even said it himself. Shane's even said it himself. When Earl really goes off on one, I just turn my hearing aid off. And it's like a nod. And it's perfect. The two of them, I mean, they've got utmost respect. They love each other, you know. Earl is Shane's idol. Shane is the one guy that Earl actually thinks is worthy of being, you know, one of the top guys in the world, and being also kind of a legend of the sport. There's not many players that Earl has that kind of respect for. I think it's a great combination. I think that'll be a great match. That'd be a fantastic match. When you got 4 players playing and Shane's the slowest. That's pretty exciting stuff. All right,
Rob, what you got?
Yeah, this is just more personal. What I would enjoy seeing. I do agree with everybody else so far. What will probably happen, but I'd like to see Kachi and Filler against Shane and Tyler. And again, I put Tyler in there because of just what Jim just said about proving himself. I think he wants to do that. He for himself, he needs to do that, and for the USA and for the team. He wants to show that he is more of a team player than is supposed for him to be. And I like it because of Kachi being part of that European force, especially when you look back at the last couple of weeks when you saw Kachi and Earl, the video that was going around and the post-game interview and stuff like that. But that's just personal with me. I do agree with you guys that that's probably not going to happen. These aren't going to be the couples teams that are going to play against each other.
Yeah. I mean, I get what do I think's going to happen. I agree with you guys. Shane and Earl are a guaranteed lock. I mean, I could see a situation where it's Josh and Albin or something like that, but the U.S. side is locked into place. There's no way that they're picking anybody else besides Shane and Earl. Probably Josh and Jason, but maybe outside chance of Jason and Albin. I could see that happening. What this really, and Darren Appleton said it earlier in the chats. It's like you're going to end up having Europe have. There's a real chance that somebody could play 8 rounds or 8 matches. I think out of this. By the time that you get all of your singles and all of your doubles in there with the fans' choice, man, if Jason does that, I think that actually gives us a chance. I mean, it like an outside chance of it. Like, I'm not trying to say that Jason isn't obviously a phenomenal player, but like he's obviously potentially distracted coming in, and no one's going to argue that he's not playing the worst of anybody on his team. I mean, Albin won a world championship. Eklund won a world championship. Joshua Fillers won 2 Eurotours. David he was the person who qualified on Team Europe. So like obviously he's playing good enough, or he wouldn't have qualified. Like all of them are there for a reason, and maybe getting Jason in there a bunch more times is if he struggles or he's distracted in any sort of way. I mean, maybe that's the best thing for America. Who knows? We'll see.
I'll tell you what it means. Jason Shaw will defend his MVP.
Probably.
That's what it means. That's what it means. Because going over under the assumption that, Europe are going to win and the MVP has to come from the winning team, how does a player like Albin fade 8 matches against 5 of his, How does he pull that back? He has to win all 5 of his matches. And Jason,
by saying that, you're assuming that Jason is going to be playing Jason Poole, right? There's no reason.
I'm assuming that Jason gets picked for these singles and the doubles.
Correct,
which means that the rest of Team Europe are going to be playing 2 matches less than him. That means he has to lose 3 matches, and the rest of Team Europe or somebody else in Team Europe win all their matches. It's a massive advantage, 2 extra matches.
No, but Jim, but this is my exact point: is you're just magically assuming the final score is going to be 11-5 again, or 11-6. Like if Jason plays 8 matches and he struggles, there's no reason he can't lose 6 of 8. And if you have Jason losing 6 out of 8, there's no reason the U.S. can't win outright. Like,
okay, let's say, go with that. How does Jason lose 6 points? When he's losing
point.
No, but he's losing half points. The majority of them will be doubles. So there's somebody else in Team Europe is losing points as well.
Correct, but what I'm saying.
So when you're playing 8 matches and the rest of your team are playing a maximum of 6, it doesn't matter on form. You're automatically a massive favorite to win the MVP.
Just from
assuming that you win those matches.
No, you don't have to win all of them. You could win 50% of them and you still be MVP.
Jim, if you were on Team Europe and you got 8 matches, how many are you going to win?
Yeah, but
this is my point. Is like Jason doesn't have to play great.
you're talking about over these 4 days. You're saying that Albin is world champion and Joshua Filler won Eurotours and blah 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 blah. Yes, fantastic players. Jason's also a really good player. And
I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying that
when they get to Mosconi, he also wasn't the most informed player last year when they turned up for Mosconi Cup. It's all about what happens. It's all about what happens over those 4 days. And you put Jason in that arena, he turns into a completely different animal.
Bingo.
And if you give any of those, you gave Al Qaeda 2 matches more, he's automatically my favorite for MVP.
Of course, I'm not arguing with that.
More than the favorite for MVP.
Jim, the thing is I'm not arguing that he's not going to be the favorite for MVP. What I'm arguing is that if he doesn't play well and he comes out and struggles, which if you're going to name a player on Europe that might come out and struggle, how can you not have the guy? How can you not? How can it not be? How can it not be? He's coming in behind them as far as just playing.
He just played a race to 100 against the best money. He's coming in stroke. He's gonna be hitting the balls good.
He's played 2 days of solid pool against the best money match player in the world. He was 8 racks down after 2 days. I mean, Nate.
Yes, and then everything that's happened since, Jim. Everything that's happened since.
He was playing bang average before Mosconi Cup last year, and look what he did. I'm saying is
if he comes into this Mosconi Cup and he struggles, we're all gonna say, we're not gonna come in and say Jason just played bad. We're gonna start instantly making excuses that he was distracted, his wife was back, she's going through surgery, we don't know what's happening. We're gonna give him a pass. We all know that we're gonna give him a pass, but the fact that excuse is already like built in means that there's a possibility that he might be a little bit distracted. It's possible. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm not predicting this. I'm just saying if this happened, nobody would be surprised. There's no way that you would come on here the Monday after and say, how is it possible that Jason played bad? Oh my God, he's going in there perfect form. He's winning all these tournaments. Nothing's going on at the home front. He doesn't have a business that he's leaving behind with a wife that can't take care of it while he's gone. We would never just say there's no distraction. If he came back, we would have every excuse in the book for him. And we would know good and damn well that he had a reason to not play his best game, and we would give him that pass. That's all I'm saying. If you give him 8 matches and that possibility is there, it's possible he's just a little bit distracted and maybe loses 5 or 6 matches. It's possible. Not predicting it. I'm just saying the built-in excuse is there, and we would give it to him if that happened.
So we should bring in Max Lechner. No, I'm just kidding.
But I saw that so much.
I'm just kidding. I love Jason. I'm just joking around.
Well, you got anything, Jim?
I'll speak to you on the end of day 3.
Well, like I said, I'm not predicting it. I'm just saying that's a very real possibility, and nobody would fault him for it at that point.
Listen,
no, absolutely not. It's fair. It's very fair.
In any team sport, if you give one of your guys the lion's share of the matches, then it can be very dangerous if that one person is not playing well. That's in any team sport.
That's my point.
Then it becomes a danger. However, I don't envisage that Jason is going to have any kind of meltdown out there.
I don't either.
Knowing Jason, this whole situation that's happened with him at home, getting away is probably the best thing for him at the moment. I think it'll be feeding a fire inside him. I mean, as long as he can leave home knowing that Ara is safe and well, and that she's being looked after properly, then I don't think there's any need for Jason to be worried while he's there.
This is my exact point, Jim. If you're given the assumption that everything is okay on the home front, then sure, I agree with you, and I do not think he's going to have any type of meltdown. But you have to put that disclaimer on, and I'm saying that we don't know that that's true. And because we don't know that that's true, what happens if it's not? What if she's not okay when he leaves? What happens if he cannot guarantee that she's going to be fine when he's gone? We're not saying anything bad's going to happen, but what happens if he leaves there not knowing exactly where things are at with her? Is it possible he's a little distracted? Is it possible? Is it possible that affects his game a little bit?
Based on that, it's also a possibility that it doesn't go.
Yeah.
What Panozzo is to Earl, Nate is to Jason, is what I'm hearing.
I've already said a bunch of times.
Come on, don't sell me short, man. That's
to be honest, I'd be a little bit more worried about Jason.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not predicting that Jason doesn't play well. I'm just saying that there is the built-in excuse, and nobody is going to hold him accountable if he comes out and does not play well. We're all going to instantly go to the idea that he has things going on that are bigger, that transcend the game of pool, and we're going to give him that pass. And all I'm saying is, if we go into this and something happens and he has a little bit of a struggle fest, his mind is split, we're going to have the built-in excuse. And because of that, it's not infeasible to me that he struggles a little bit.
And the good thing is that you got like 4 other number ones in your corner, and I think that's the great problem to go and have, for Team Europe, because anyone, David's a world pool master champion, a couple times over. Albin's just winning everything that he plays in. Kachi plays one event and snaps it off. I mean, it's just all you got is number ones on that team. So he doesn't have to go and carry all that weight on the shoulders.
Yeah. And if he does struggle, Nate, he's not going to get 8.
Nate, if you want, yes, it might all be true, but that is like the doomsday scenario. I don't think that's anything to worry about. I think Jason's going to get there. I think he's going to rock it. I think he's really looking forward to this. I think he's fired up. I think he found out a lot about his game, where his game is at in those 2 days against Dennis. I think he feels himself that he's hitting the ball well and he's ready to go. And if Jason thinks he's playing well, then the chances are he's going to play well. It's as simple as that. We'll see.
I don't disagree with that.
All 10 of them are great players. All 10 of them are great players. They're all capable of having great days. They're all capable of having bad days. And it's races to 5. It only takes somebody like Jason or Filler or even Sky or Earl. It only takes them 15 minutes to put 5 racks on the board. So it's about it's about how you're feeling just at that moment, getting yourself out there. The captain's getting you prepared and doing what you do best for a 15, 20, 30-minute period. And then the rest of it takes care of itself backstage, kind of thing. So I think Jason will be ready when he goes out there. I think he can. I don't envisage any problems. None whatsoever.
They all better go take care of business. I promise you that, because you don't want a free stroking Team USA out there, ahead after day 2.
No, and I tell you, Jason knows he's only in this team because he's MVP. Like you mentioned, he's not been really on form. He's not been winning big events or going as deep as we would expect. Jason is back in this team because of previous Mosconis and being the MVP last year. He needs to do it again, because if he doesn't, he's going to have to go out there next year and win big events and do better than he did this year. Now, I know, he's going to play more. He's going to practice more. He's going to take it a bit more serious now that he's got his business stable and where it wants it to be. But, his performance last year got him in this year. So he'll be out there trying to do it again and give himself the best chance possible to seal his spot already for the next edition, MVP is going to get in next year. We said it last week. If Earl is MVP, he's pretty much a lock. I think the European MVP is probably a lock as well. We'll see.
No, I don't think it's that. If Earl wins MVP, you better believe he's going to be back. But I think Europe's just too deep. There's always someone coming at your heels.
Okay, I wouldn't say all 5 of them, but I would say Albin, Filler, or Jason. If one of those 3 is MVP, you can guarantee they're in the team next year. Yeah. I would say Kachi and Al Qaeda have to actually do a bit more during the year to get in the team than those 3. I mean, I think we all know that these are the 3 guys that if you've got in your team, you feel like you can just fill in the other 2, when it comes to Mosconi Cup. So, but we'll see. We will see.
Well, it's easy when they got a resume and a history of performing well on those big stages. So
that's what captains look at.
Yeah. That's hard to go and argue.
Yeah. That would be my 3. That would be my first 3 picks. If somebody said to me, pick a Team Europe, Jim, your captain, who do you want? I'd pick those 3 straight away and say, give me any other 2. I don't care. Give me those 3.
Rob, tell Jim that I'm right.
Yeah, you're right all the time. But Jim is also right all the time. So there we have it. We have a little problem there now.
This is a weird dynamic because Jim and I never agree on anything.
I'm going to be curious to see if the playing conditions have any effect on these players, because I know in the World Cup, that TV table that they had the first couple days, for sure, there wasn't anybody that just handled those conditions perfectly. There were some guys struggling with that. The brand new cloth, the brand new rails, the brand new balls, everything slipping and sliding and stuff. And so, that could be a factor for the first, at least the first day, if not the first few matches, for sure.
That's where
What
the
do you
good
think
thing about
about
having
that, Jim? The conditions being a factor.
Well, that's a good thing to have Earl on the table because he knows exactly how to handle that. I mean, Earl, that's the one good thing about Earl is like he knows exactly how to play on that table. He's been doing this in the last 20 years of his career. He's got more experience out there than anybody but Shane and Sky probably.
Yeah. And if you look at Tyler only practices with polished up balls as clean as he can possibly get them. I mean, he's had arguments during matches because there's been a dust mark on the cue ball kind of thing. So Tyler enjoys playing on.
He struggled with that slide that last year he played though. Like there was a couple of matches where like he missed balls that were just head scratching.
But that's also just if you're when the table is that reactive and it's that slippy, if you're just not cueing right and you're not finding the center of the white, then you can get offset with your white quite easily. You know, it does react off the tip of your cue. If you're not finding the center, then it will fly off to the side quite quickly, deflect off.
Well, that's every day of my life.
Tell me about it. I ain't hit the center of a white for 20 years. Yeah. I actually avoid trying to hit the center of the white because I know I can't find it. But as far as the conditions go, I think last year was a little bit different because there's no crowd in there. I could only imagine it was probably a little bit colder in there as well, with there not being any crowd. The table's always a bit slippy. It's a matchroom table. It's like nothing that you've ever played on before. And the balls are brand new. Everything is as slippy as you can possibly get. It's like playing on an ice rink, playing on these tables. So I mean, the conditions.
Well, the big three of Team Europe can go and adjust. There's no doubt about that because they've been playing on those matchroom tables all year long.
Exactly. The trick to it is, if you look at the World Cup of Pool last year when Appleton and Boys ended up teaming up with each other in Britain C, Carl basically forced himself, or was forced into a situation where he was playing slightly different shots and he was being a little bit more containing with his shots and being a little bit more safe, and just rather than trying to get too close to the next ball to make sure he was on the right side of the next ball, even if it was a bit more distance. And it turned out to be the way that you should play those tables. You shouldn't be trying to do too much with a cue ball on those tables because you can't get the same action out of it. It will stick to the rails if you're playing with too much spin. It'll just sort of slide off them rather than take the spin and accelerate off the rails. And I think a lot of players who have played in matchroom events, maybe for the first time or not so often, they make the mistake of trying to play the table the same as they would a normal table. You can't do it. You can't play it with check sides. You can't get reverse English off these tables. You just can't do it. The cue ball just doesn't react. You have to keep it simple. You have to play a simple game when you're playing on these tables. And the guys
are back next year.
Know it,
I want to see Darren and Carl back next year.
It wouldn't surprise me.
You want to talk about a Cinderella story? Yeah, that was the best. That was the best story in pool all year for me.
Why wouldn't they be GB1 now? They got to the final. Why wouldn't they be GB1?
You ain't gonna hear no arguments over here. I'm with 1,000%.
I can think of a better story. How about Jeanette beating cancer?
Well, yeah, but
or at least getting back to it. Right?
I didn't mean any disrespect like that. But
yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I meant more just on the table, but for sure.
No, I got you.
Yeah,
but that is an awesome story too. All right, Mike, you got any thoughts on this? We haven't heard from you for a while.
Well, I think you guys have
any more Earl bashes?
Covered everything once or twice. No, I mean
we haven't talked enough about Earl yet. Why don't you light into him for a
little while? No, I don't want to make myself the story. That's the worst thing you can do as a journalist is you become part of the story. So Earl wants to blame me. That's up to him. I'm not feeding his fire anymore. One thing that
we're all blaming you.
Yeah, right.
Not just Earl. Yeah, we're all on. Just so you know, we are all Team Earl. Every one of us.
One of the things that we haven't talked about that I think is going to be an interesting thing to watch is Shane as vice captain, because there were a lot of years in the past where Shane hung his head and showed a little disinterest a little bit early, and it really affected the rest of the team. And I think that now that he's got this role, he knows that he can't do that. He's going to be more conscious of it. I saw him putting posts on where he's like, rallying the troops and calling out the other players on the team. I never saw that before. Never saw that before. And so, so I think he is taking it seriously, and I think he's taking it more personally. Like, now I'm part of whether or not we're successful. He said he's looking forward to it. Last time I talked to him, he was all excited about the opportunity. And I asked him if he thought there's any chance that would affect his game, having to split time, between focusing on the game and focusing on the team. And he didn't think so. No one ever does, but it's going to be interesting to see, how that goes. I'm not going to be there, so I won't be able to watch the team dynamic away from the table. But I'll be interested to, I'll be interested to find out what, how that goes, because if it goes well for Shane, that's good for everybody. That's good for his game, and it's good for the team. So they're going to need him a lot, because he's going to have to be that buffer with Earl. He's going to have to be the one to rally the troops, and he's going to have to be on top of his game. That's a lot to ask of him, but it may actually be better than just sending him out there and saying, here, you have to win 8 matches. Right. So maybe splitting his time with everything else will take a little bit of that singular burden off his shoulders, and maybe it'll be a good combination. We'll see.
Right. Mike, let me ask you this question. Don't you hit that mute button? Yeah,
you can see that when I do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So do you think with what Shane is doing, like he's rallying the troops, he's being exactly what you need out of a vice captain? Do you think that this is him genuinely doing it because he thinks that would give team the best choice or the best chance? Or do you think that he might be actually trying to create a resume to be maybe not the next U.S. captain, but a captain in the future?
No, I don't think that's any part of his thought process. I would be surprised. I mean, you're talking about a kid who probably thinks he's got 10 more years of being the number 1 player on the team.
Well, he said he's said publicly that he's got 3 years left in his career and he doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, well, I'll buy that album.
I'll take the over.
Yeah, I'll take the over too.
And I'll tell you what, there's two names who have already locked for Mosconi Cup captain. All Matchroom need is for them to contact and say, this year I want to be Mosconi Cup captain. Anytime they want, any year they want, whenever they want it, they just phone up and say, I'm the next one. Okay, yeah, we'll put you down your next one. Darren Appleton and Shane Van Boning. They already have the resume. They don't need to do any more than what they've already done. They make the phone call and say, stick me down for captain. The next time you're making a change, that's your next captain. Simple.
What about Ralph?
Possibly, but he's been captain before. He's been playing captain before, I think.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Niels?
Niels will not.
It's got to be Darren.
Darren is the number 1. I mean, they could
I agree.
Every single European could phone up and say, I want to be captain. If Darren Appleton's in the group, he's got it.
You're only saying that because he's in the chat. Suck up.
No, but it is. And he's openly said he would want to be captain one year, but he's going to leave it for a while because he still wants to qualify again. Simple as that.
Yep. All right. Well, why don't we talk about actual day by day? So I'm looking at the result or the day one here for the for the Mosconi Cup, and go on.
No, I was gonna say, we haven't talked about Chris or Tyler like at all.
I was going to say that as well.
Do you think that's a good thing?
We haven't talked about really Kachi or David either.
It's the Errol thing.
But it's different on Team Europe, though. Yeah. It's completely different on Team Europe.
Yeah,
it is and it isn't really. I mean, when you think about it, Mike, I mean, you're going to get 90% of your points if you're going to win. You're going to get 90% of your points from your top 2 or 3 guys. So the last 2 guys, you really only need them to steal a point or 2. They can steal you 2 points. You're way ahead of the game. So there's just not a lot of expectation on them, a lot of, dependence on them. And that's the same whether it's David and Kachi or whether it's Chris and Tyler. I think, you just look at those last 2 and you say, come on, guys, just, get me 2 points and we'll carry the rest of the load. And that's the same for both teams. Both teams, if Europe wins, they're going to be carried by the top 3, mostly the top 2. If U.S. wins, they're going to be carried by the top 2 with Earl pitching in. So, I don't think it changes much for either team as far as how you get to 11.
Well, yeah, but I mean, going into December last year, we're talking about Chris. Going into, December the 2 years prior, we're talking about Tyler. And that's all anybody was talking about going into it. This is completely different now.
Well, I think that's the Earl show, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just curious y'all's thoughts on whether that's a good thing for those two guys.
Yeah, I think
it's got to be good. Got to be good for Chris that he doesn't have everybody talking about him like last year, and he can just go in there, fly under the radar.
Hey, but he played great though. I mean, even all those people expected him to go and fall flat on his face. He went out there and stood on his own.
I'll say this: if anything, we should have more discussion about Chris going into this year than it was last year. I mean, you want to talk about playing your first ever Mosconi Cup? That's great. Chris still has not played a Mosconi Cup. Jim will tell you that, right, Jim?
He's still a rookie. In my eyes, he's still a rookie.
He is still a rookie. He has not played a Mosconi Cup yet. When you get 2,500 ruckus, rowdy, screaming fans in you every single time you miss a ball or miss 1 inch of positioning, and you hear the entire crowd go, "Woo!"
Would you say the same thing if it was Fader?
Of course. No, you're right. I absolutely agree with you, Mike. We would be saying the same if it was Fedor. The point is like, because of the Earl show, Chris doesn't have anybody. I mean, he still have it a little bit, but to the degree that he would have gotten his, like, the doubter saying whether or not he can handle that. We know Tyler can handle that. We've seen it twice. Well, 1.5 times already. Do we know that Chris is going to be able to handle that?
Yeah, he can.
We'll have to find out. But the Earl show basically takes all of that away from him, and I think it's a fair thing to ask whether or not we think Chris can handle that. That's a real thing. There's very few people.
I remember asking him in Oklahoma last year before, and this is when like the crowd was still more of an unknown, and he said, "I would love to go and play with the crowd there, like just embrace it 1,000%." It didn't even hesitate at all.
Well,
no thought.
Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right?
No, if you
if you lose,
he'll learn a lot more about himself. He can make that statement, but
but he was under a magnifying glass though. It wasn't because it was easy to go and pick them apart if they go and lose, because it's the same thing with Tyler the first year that he picked, and I think.
I'll also say this though: when you make that first mistake, that very, very first mistake, you find out a lot about a player. When you make that first positional error and you hear 1,000 to 2,000 people go, "Woo, woo," like as silly as it sounds, that could be super, super intimidating. It really can be. It can be.
The whole arena, the fans, the TV, it's a real leveler. You can put a 750 Fargo in there who's enjoying it and loving it against an 800 Fargo who's not enjoying it and not loving it.
Mike DeShane.
The 750 is a favorite.
Mike
because
DeShane,
we've
right?
seen it. That arena, that table has made very, very good players look very, very silly. So it is a mental battle out there. It can be crushing. We've seen it with Alex Kazakis. When you get in a little bit of a dip there, a great player who hopefully now has beaten.
He got the monkey off his back though. Team Greece got the guy.
I think he
snapped it off.
I think the Masters. Hopefully he's beating his demons there. I'd love to see him back in the matchroom. I'd love to see him back in the Mosconi Cup and see how he reacts if he's given another chance. On the back of the Masters. I think
he's got to earn it though.
Given that I think people should forget about what happened in the Mosconi Cups before. He's a different guy now. He's a different animal. Once you've won that big matchroom tournament, you become a different animal. Then you're not scared anymore. You're not worried anymore. You can do it out there. And Alex was just a little bit vulnerable emotionally or in his head or confidence-wise. And it showed when things started going against him, And the guy's an 800 Fargo. He's a fantastic, fantastic, fantastic player. But there was just in that arena, it can go bad very, very quickly, So Chris Robinson, if he goes out there and he can handle the crowd and he can play, we saw it with Tyler in his very first year. He didn't play as well the second year. Maybe he expected too much of himself. I don't know. But these players, a 30, 40 point Fargo rating is not a lot if you're enjoying yourself out there, and the other guy's not. Trust me,
it's a race. It's a race to 5.
These guys can get there. Easy.
It's a race to 5. I mean, it one mistake and you're off serve, and you're behind it already. But what do they play on? They're playing on 4 1/8, right?
4 1/4. 4 1/4.
4 1/4. Well, it'll still be pretty good.
I'd like to see 4.5.
Oh, I bet you would, Team USA.
You'd like to. You'd like to. You want them to be playing on valleys.
Yeah. Well, I want to see him play on Jim's table with his 5 1/4 inch.
You want one on the spot magic rack and a valley table.
Yeah, no, on your table, Jim. The pockets are even bigger than on a valley.
4.3, mate. 4.3. It's not my fault. I make them look big.
Correct. The first 4.3 inches are 4.3.
Yeah.
After that, you have another 1.2.
This took a turn.
Yeah, what's it with Tyler? What's Tyler going on about? Oh, shot 167 today on my 4 1/8 inch pocket. Shot a 180 straight pull today on my 4 1/8 inch. Do you get to add like 10% onto your score if your pockets are under a certain size? Or what's the deal?
Sure. He said you got action whenever he's in the UK, Jim, is what he said. He said flip.
I'll take a rack cue. He's got the 8.
Flip the coin.
Flip it, Tyler. Flip it.
All right, clowns. Let's get back on track. Let's look at day 1. We'll only break down day 1, I think, because I think that's the most interesting day, and we're going to be doing this live every single day. I think from London. So
very drunk.
Whether or not we'll be sober enough to do it is another question, but we'll at least give it a good. We'll give it a good college effort. So day 1, we have the team. So that's all 5 on Europe, all 5 on USA. Then they go into a doubles, and then singles, and then doubles. So real quick,
and then singles.
Yes. No.
Singles is the last match on day 1.
Oh yeah, it is. Yep, you're right.
It's Shane's match.
Yes, yeah, that's Shane's match. Well, I don't think it should be, but let's talk about this because let's be quick with it. Team is obvious. Molina Mike, we'll start with you. Double singles. Who are you putting out there on day 1 to give USA or Europe their best chance?
No, there's the strategy behind it's too important. I have to go on and look at it, I guess, more to study it. But what is it? Double singles? Is that what you said? Double singles.
Double singles.
Yeah, I want to get Tyler in right away and put him in with Sky and just let him jump on in and try to steal you one. Singles, yeah, keep the kid out there. Keep Sky out there. He plays phenomenal on that stage as well. Next doubles, I guess you want to get the other, Chris out of the way and let him be out there with Shane. And then Shane will be coming off of doubles playing a singles to end the day. That's what I would do.
You gotta have all 5 players playing on it. So you gotta have Earl in there somewhere.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why I was bad ask over here.
All right, we'll give you a chance to think. Panozzo, what do you got? You know this format better than all of us combined.
No, not at all, really. I mean, I'm assuming that I haven't even actually looked at the lineup as far as matches. Are the fans picks both on the second day?
No, the
singles is on the
last,
second day, and the
doubles is on the very last match before day 4.
Okay, so I think you want to send Earl out there once or twice on the first day. I like Mike's talk about getting Tyler out there and getting Chris out there. You got to be careful with that because you don't want to get far behind. You don't want to lose 4-1 on the first day. You can't get that far behind. So I like, Earl, and you may as well throw Earl and Shane together at the beginning because you're going to get them on a fans match anyways for a second shot. So, I might think about doing that. I would play Sky in singles and then maybe Sky again in doubles with Chris or Tyler.
Whichever one you don't put them with, that player
has to be the single player for last. Yeah, that's a tough. That's a tough pick. Yeah. Well,
it's not.
That's where the dilemma is to me on the first day.
Yeah, I don't think it's that hard for me. I think this is like super obvious. I think you put Shane and Earl out right away. Get them, get Earl settled in as well as he possibly can. Give him an opportunity to shoot himself into a stroke. You throw Sky out for singles right away. Give him the opportunity for that. You throw in Chris and Shane for the second doubles, and then you throw Tyler out there in the singles. I think Tyler's built for that moment. Tyler, we've already seen when down 2-0, down 2-0 in points and down 2-0 to Niels Fine, didn't matter. He came back and he grinded. I mean, he's built for that moment. He's not afraid of it. Get him out there in the Shane spot. I like putting Shane into day 2 right away with the singles match, which is going to be in the fans' choice. I think he's going to be the fans' choice. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe you guys are right with Earl. I don't know. I think it's going to be him. And then you can throw him right back out again for singles and then right back out there in doubles for Shane and Sky. You can get Shane 3 matches right away on day 2. Give yourself your best chance. But that's what I like for the team. I think that gives the best chance of getting, going into day 2 with a potential 3-2 lead. Jim, what do you think?
I disagree slightly. I agree with putting Tyler out as a singles, but I think you stick him in the first singles because he's got good memories of that spot. If you are 2-0 behind, he's got good memories of going out there and taking Niels down. If you're ahead, then you've got him in a good position where he can relax slightly. So I like Earl and Shane first. I think you get them out first. Then I think you play Tyler, and then you put Chris and Sky together for the second doubles, and then Shane in his normal spot. No, I think you get all.
Then nobody's playing back to back, right? So no one's playing doubles into a single.
I don't think you need to. Listen. Day one is a day where, in general, nobody really plays very well. So day 1 is an opportunity for you to, if you're Team America, to pick some points out. The end of day 1 is more important for America, I think, than it is for Europe. I think if Europe have a good lead, then I think, the heads might dip in America. Whereas if America have a good lead, then Europe I think they've still got more in the tank after day 1 to come back from it. But nobody really plays well in day 1. So I shouldn't think there should be any. I don't think.
That's why I don't like putting Shane first.
Yeah, but I don't think America need to try and be too tactical with their picks for day 1. I think you just stick your players out in places where they know they can perform. Shane knows.
But it affects things on the back end, though, doesn't it? It affects your ability to go and put players in certain spots on the back end, on day 2.
Not really. No, not really. I think Shane's always played the singles. He's used to playing the singles at the end. There's no need to try and switch that up and create anything. It's day 1. It's like we said, people don't play great on day 1 generally. Tyler knows what it's like to play the singles on day 1 and be successful in that spot on day 1. Stick him back in there and say, Tyler, just go and do the same as you did last time against Niels. One of the greatest Mosconi Cup players that Europe's had. 4 times MVP or whatever. Go out and do the same again. I think Earl and Shane together is a natural to get Earl into the tournament to get him comfortable. I think that's a natural. And then you've got to give Chris a game, and Sky as well. So stick them together. I mean, I don't think you really need to overthink day 1 as far as the US side goes. I think there's more thinking involved for Alex because he knows probably Shane's going to play match 5. Who does he put out there for that match? He picked Albin last year. Who does he pick this year? It was always Darren. Darren just took it every single year, Yeah.
All right, Rob, what you got?
Yeah, I'm liking start off with the doubles with Earl and Shane. And then the singles, I'll throw Sky out there. And the next doubles, I'd put Tyler and Sky together. And the singles, Shane for the first day. Now, that's Chris is
gotta have Chris play
that first day then.
Yeah, he's gonna have to. He said
he has to, right?
Yeah.
Does he have to play the first day?
Yeah, he has to play the first day. Yep.
Everybody has to be involved in a match,
and not counting the team one.
It may even be that the first doubles have to have everybody involved in it. No.
Oh yeah. All players have to be played once in matches 2 through 4.
There you go. So the match 2, 3, 4, you've got to have you can't have anybody doubling up there.
So
everybody's got to play. Yeah.
Well, then I'd put Chris at the second singles.
Oh, to end the day?
Day one.
All right.
You said
Mike,
all
what
the
you got?
players have to play on day one, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. I'm just ready. Can it just be Tuesday already? What day does it start? Yeah, the 7th. I'm just ready. Let's
want a Molina
get
Mike
the popcorn
hat.
going. I want to send me your shipping info. I got you, Rob. We'll send one over to you. No, I listen. I think you can't go down 4-1. That's just the bottom line. You got to be at 3-2 or better if you're Team USA. Europe just doesn't have any kind of those problems because of them having all those number ones. So
this is.
I like Jim's idea though of throwing Tyler in that spot though, because he's had experience there. I mean, against Niels. I mean, that was whenever Tyler, was playing probably MVP form until Sky played Albin in that singles for my money. But yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be tough. But I like getting out those guys out early and get their feet wet. For sure, you can't have Earl playing with Tyler or Chris though.
No,
all.
I agree.
Yeah.
The reason why, if I was the captain, what I would be doing is I would be trying to I would have a plan in place to get up 5-2. My plan to get up 5-2 would be to hold Shane off of that singles match and put him in. I think he's going to be
5 matches day one.
Huh?
Right? Isn't there 5 matches day one?
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I know, but my plan is to get up 5-2. So that involves day involves day 2, right? So my plan for there is going to be getting Shane not on day 1. So then you can get the fans' choice singles match, and then Shane singles again, and then Shane and Sky doubles. So I'm taking the 5 matches from the first day, and then the other singles match after that. But like the idea is, I'm trying to get in the first 8 matches. I am trying to get Shane in there 4 times. And then from there, I'm front loading Sky. The idea there is if you can get yourself up 5-2 or even like 6-2, if you're lucky, like you're really giving yourself the opportunity to start getting Europe up against it. And what I hated about Jeremy's picks last year was he back-ended it. Shane and Sky didn't even play until day 3. And like by then they were down 7-2, I think. If you can get Europe down 7-2 and playing up against it, I think you can actually have a chance of, maybe they'll miss a couple balls. Maybe they'll play a little bit tight. Maybe you can get them to where they can't just relax and go out there and have fun with each other. They actually have to feel like they have to play perfect pool to try to get back into it. It doesn't do you any good to be down 2-7 and getting an already underdog U.S. team up against it even more. If
they're down 7-2, it's a wrap.
Absolutely it is, right? Because you can't take a team that has that little, they're up against it already that much, and then you're telling them to make a comeback too. Like it just doesn't work. So when I'm planning this, I'm planning with the expectation to try to get yourself the best opportunity possible to get up 6-2 or 5-2 or even 7-2, and I pick all of my matchups to give myself the best opportunity of winning 7 of the first 9 matches. And then hope that that's enough pressure put on Europe that even though the back end is going to be a little bit weaker, at least on paper, that you have enough of a cushion that it puts Europe up against it, and that maybe they miss some balls that they wouldn't normally miss, and they play a little worse because of that, and you give yourself a chance to win on the back end with some weaker matchups just because there's mistakes made that aren't normally made when you're basically just out there having fun. That's my strategy, and that's why I like having Shane 3 times in the day 2 to start it.
If you got a strategy to get up 7-2, you better get on a plane now. They need you in London like yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, get Shane and Sky out there immediately, right? So last year they were both held back, right? They barely played any matches.
Yeah, but you could argue the other side of it though, because if they don't go and perform, then you're stuck, and then you got
if they don't go and perform, that you're going to lose 11-2 anyways, right? Whether you're front loaded or back loaded, you're losing 11-2 no matter what. Give them the chance to do that.
Yeah,
it just doesn't do you any good.
I agree with that part.
It doesn't do you any good to save your best players for day 3 so that you can give yourself the strongest day 3 lineup possible when you're already down 7-2 or 7-3. U.S. went into day 3 down 7-2 with without Sky playing a singles and without their strongest double pairing in Sky and Shane.
I don't know. I just like the idea of having guys who have been in big moments and having your top guys, multiple time U.S. Open winners and Sky. I don't know. I want guys like if you're gonna be behind, I want those guys going out there for me. That's just that's my thought.
I like playing it so you don't get behind, or at least give yourself the best chance not to go behind.
I agree with that. I like the idea of playing to get ahead and making them chase you and putting pressure on them. That's what you got to put pressure on them. You're the underdog. You've got to put pressure on the favorite.
Well, you're going to have to steal some regardless, though. You're going to have to.
Well, yeah, but you try to put yourself in a position to win the matches you can win and hope to steal one or two on top of that. Yeah. I mean, look at last year. Chris played, really great even right out of start. He lost to Albin on that bad, last rack, last 8-ball, but
he's up 4-1
look at someone like Federer. Right? Federer last year didn't look comfortable at all at the beginning, and once they got up 7-2, all of a sudden he's freewheeling, having fun, smiling, laughing, knocking them in. So you got to find a way to put pressure on those guys. That's why make them feel like they've got to play perfect. Like Nate said, I'll buy into that all day long. Play for an early lead. But the thing is, Europe's going to know that that's what your strategy is going to be, is to play for an early lead, because you don't have a choice. That.
When was the last time you remember Jeremy putting that out there? Right. Shane and Sky didn't play until day 3 when it was already over.
Yeah, well, he was borrowing too much from the Johan years where they won, and Johan stacked Sky on the 3rd day. But the rest of the team played great going into that. So last year didn't work out so well. I would take a different approach.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if Shane doesn't, you're right. I just like the idea that if Shane doesn't play the opening singles on the day, then you have to replace him in his normal spot. Dave, his normal spot. Who on Team USA is built for that moment? I think it's Tyler. I think of all the players for day 5, the last match singles, I think it's Tyler more than anybody else. Maybe short of Sky. I mean, of course, I don't want to say Sky can't do it, because Sky absolutely can do it. But I think it's Sky and it's Tyler. And I like putting, both of those players out for singles on day 1. And then, if Shane gets like I said, if Shane gets that fans choice, you can put him again right after with another singles match, and then Sky and Shane right after that. And you now have your first 3 matchups where you have Shane getting 2 singles, being involved in 2 doubles, 3 doubles actually, with the team, and you now have Shane out there 6 times, and then you can still backload Sky in day 3 if you wanted to, but you got to get that cushion.
When do they announce the fans picks?
I would assume the day of.
After the session before.
I was going to say, I would assume it's like the day of. Probably.
No, usually it's the morning of.
Yeah, it's like the day of, I think.
Yeah, they get. I mean, you're talking about the session finishing at like 11 o'clock in the evening. The voting stops at 12 o'clock, and then the next day it's announced.
Yeah.
Okay. Got to be careful what if you're holding Shane back, hoping to play him 3 times in a row, it ends up being Earl.
Yeah, I mean, but
I was going to say, if you're banking on Shane to be the fans pick, I think you're making a mistake.
Agreed.
I mean, I agree with you guys. I agree with you guys that I think Earl is probably the favorite, but I think America has to pick for. I mean, if America has to choose Captain America, so that it comes
get online and stack the vote.
So it comes down to who's going to vote more, U.S. or Europe. I don't know. I don't. But Jim, you said that there's 10 times more players in the U.S. than there are in Europe.
Yeah, but in Chicago we all vote 4 times.
Yeah, but how many of them watch Mosconi Cup because they're not prepared to pay them $10 for a DAZN subscription? So yeah,
I don't know the answer to that.
We get Mosconi Cup for free over here.
So that puts you at the advantage in voting.
Well, Jim, we get COVID tests for free over here, so.
We all know how you like to get poked in the nose.
So I guess to answer Darren Appleton's question, Jim and I only have to, I guess, isolate for 1 day. We'll be getting there on Saturday morning, and hopefully by Sunday morning we'll have our results back. So we only have to isolate for the first day, unless it takes forever to get our tests back, which I don't see how that's the case when there's nobody traveling really. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of people traveling in and out of London these days with the new variant.
And I've got to take my test when I arrive, but I don't have to quarantine because I have diplomatic immunity.
On that note,
Bye, Jim.
Oh, that's horrible. Darren was just hoping that he didn't get drawn me in the first round of the GB9 since he's on a 0-1 record against me. Don't worry, Darren, I'll still be allowed to play. I don't have to isolate. So I'll take you down again.
Yep.
Well,
We're
hitting new highs over here, boys.
Yeah, I'm hitting
I think that's
we're keeping it clean.
I think that's a pretty good way to wrap up that discussion. We'll talk briefly, I guess, about the Eurotour because Wiktor Zieliński got his very first win, which is pretty awesome for him.
No, second win.
Second win. He's won one before.
Oh, did he?
Won when he was 16.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Won when he was 16. That was pretty good.
He had to drink milk to celebrate it. That's
yeah. Out of a bottle.
He's Polish. He's been drinking vodka since he was 3.
Well,
Beads in the stuff.
It is Poland. So, to be honest with you, I don't know the guy who got second. Did you know? Any of you guys know him?
Nope.
Nope.
Who was it?
It's the depth of the Eurotour.
I never heard of that guy before in my life.
I don't. It's Matt's.
Norwegian.
S with an S.
Matt Scheitner. He's Norwegian. Very good. He's Norwegian number one. Good player. He's gone deep in the Eurotours before. He's a very good player. Yeah, Matt. Yeah.
He'd be number 3 on USA.
Well, Mike just golly, man. Mike is just full of uppercuts, man. I love it.
But if you want to, on the Mosconi, Al Qaeda went deep again.
If he plays Earl 9-ball race to 100, what's the score?
I thought it was going to be an all Spain final, but I thought it was going to be.
If who plays Earl race to 100?
It looked like it could have been. It could have been Francisco Sanchez Ruiz winning his 3rd Eurotour. That's what I was looking at. Yep. But so 3rd place, 4th place goes to David Al-Qaeda and Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. Those two are like Eurotour killers. I mean, they're always there.
And best buddies are like brothers as well. Sanchez Ruiz is going to be there in Al-Qaeda's corner at the Mosconi Cup. He'll be there supporting them.
Yep. 5th through 8th goes to, and again, there's a bunch of players in here that I don't know.
Go for it.
Sergei Lutsker.
Lutsker, Russian.
Sergey
he's Russian.
Great.
He's one of.
That's Sergey. Yeah.
One of the Fedor generation.
I do not recognize this person at all, though. Aleska Pesej.
Oh no, he plays good. He's a kid too. He plays really well.
I don't recognize that name.
Yeah.
I definitely don't recognize this name. Alexander Kazakis.
Yeah, he's a bit of a strange guy. Just runs
promising
around.
up and comer.
Yeah, he just throws plates around and dances a bit funny.
Yeah.
He's a funny guy.
Does some push-ups on the pool table. Remember that?
Plays a lot of PlayStation apparently.
Yeah, right. A lot of FIFA. Lots of FIFA. And then Regli Ronald.
Ronald Regli, Swiss, also a very good player. Yeah, he was European champion. I want to say about 3 years ago, I think, in one of the disciplines.
He played Cannes recently too, I think.
He played a long set against John
Salim.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a bunch of monsters, I guess, in the last. I mean, it's a Eurotour, right? Everybody, but I got to give a shout out to Francisco Candela, you idiot, Frank Candela.
Frank Candela, last 16.
Frank Candela, yeah, go Italy. We love Frank Candela here.
And your buddy Oliver Schnolnoki.
Oliver Schnolnoki, Mario He, Tobias Bongers.
Tobias Bongers, German. He was a filler generation. They were good buddies. They grew up together.
Mieszko Fortunski, Max Lechner, and Mortis.
Never heard of her.
Nahatsisen.
Who?
Moritz.
Oh, yeah.
Moritz Neuhausen.
Yeah, he's the
That's
German.
a guy for the future. That's a Mosconi Cup player in the future. This
This
kid's like 19-year-old. He's a beast.
Hell, I think at the World Championships, didn't he? He was up big on Jason.
He was up big, Jason, in the first round. Yeah, that's a proper. That kid's got a proper future.
He plays great. Yeah, he plays phenomenal.
Yep. So this is the. I'm not going to go through the last 32 because I've already butchered enough names, and
for sure,
one of these days, one of these people are going to reach out and be like, "You can't. This is why you don't have any corporate sponsors because you can't pronounce anybody's name." And I'm going to be like, "Oh,
no. we can thank my buddy over here, huh?"
Yeah. Yeah, Jimbo.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Talking about the Cheetos.
Jimmy. Yeah.
Talking about the Cheetos.
Pizza
Jesus, Jim.
stains, huh?
What can you do?
His rant last week was so bad we lost the shaver sponsorship.
Yeah.
Yeah. They pulled out.
Oh, I just used mine today. I'm not using it anymore.
Oh, man.
Nope, they're still around. Don't worry, Jim.
I
We'll run an ad here right up.
I gave myself a Mosconi trim.
We'll run the ad to finish the podcast. Don't worry. Well, I guess at that point, we haven't talked about this, so let's talk about it in public. Are we going to do? I'm hoping we do this live podcasts after or before the Mosconi Cup every single day. What do you guys think? It's in the morning for you guys, so it's I think it starts at noon.
No. Doing it at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day?
I would like to do it at the end of the day, at the end of each day. So I think that'd be.
Well, then it's about 4:00 our time.
And we're going.
Yeah, it starts at noon. I think it starts at noon.
I'm going to be drunk, and you're going to be covered in your own vomit. I mean, that's not really going to work, is it? I mean, Nate, really? You think you're going to be fit to do a podcast?
Beautiful picture there.
You really think you're going to be any sort of shape to do a podcast after the Mosconi Cup is finished every day?
We'll get Demetrius to run it.
Y'all stay tuned.
Hey, we can
try. We don't know what's going to happen.
It could be fun. We can always get some special guests on as well from out of the crowd.
Yeah, well, we can get people out of the crowd, and I'm sure a couple of the players will hang around and talk to us for a little while as well about the day's action. We did that in Vegas 2 years ago. Shane joined the show for a little while. Emily Frazier is always willing to step on and tell Demetrius how it really is. And
hey, listen, we can do whatever you want, no problem. We can do it while we're standing waiting for an Uber.
There we go. Well, what Mike, what do you guys think? Rob, you guys on board for that?
Yes. I can't wait for the Drunk Neight Mindham podcasts. That's what Kyle says.
I can.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll do whatever you guys want. I think it's a bit ambitious to think you guys are going to do it 11 o'clock at night after watching the whole thing.
It's
I think
not a good idea.
Doing it as a lead in at the beginning of each day.
What I would suggest, because we don't know every day what time it's going to be finished. We do know every day what time it's going to start. So I personally would suggest,
if Team USA's up, we're having Jim on. That's a lock.
I'm on every time, no problem. I'll have some more of this man.
Guaranteed.
I think based on timing, if we're going to schedule it for everybody to be available, I would say it's probably better to do it beforehand, before the start of each day, because we know what time we can do it. We don't know what time we're finished.
I don't know. Mike,
I don't know if I'm going to be.
You don't know if you're going to be able
to find me when I'm jumping around dancing and waving my European flag and giving it 4-1, 4-1. You're not going to get my attention. Let's be honest. Come on.
We'd be starting at 11 Chicago time, noon Chicago time.
No, I think the Mosconi Cup starts at noon.
The Mosconi starts at 7 p.m. UK time.
Yeah, 6 o'clock.
Half an hour ago.
1 hour time.
Half an hour ago.
So 1 o'clock our time.
Yeah.
So we would probably want to start at 10. Because 10 o'clock.
We'll figure it out, boys.
Yeah.
I would certainly suggest doing it before.
Just send me an alert.
Let's do it before the session.
We're getting popular enough now that we get messages before the podcast saying, when are you guys starting? So now everybody knows.
Maybe we should put it to a fans vote. Fans choice.
All right. So if Earl wins, we start at 9. Shane wins, we start at 10. Sky wins, we start at 11. And if Chris or Tyler win, we don't do it at all, and we quit and give this up and sell it for more manscapes.
Or we could just put a list of names up, and people can vote on who do you want Mike to bash next week.
I got nothing but love for everyone.
Between these two guys, we got all the love in the world between these two guys.
Cheeto stains.
There you go.
Listen, Mike knows enough about all the top players to be able to spend 10 minutes bashing each and every one of them.
Earl over here.
I don't have to bash our players.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Oh, come on. I did not bash on Jason. I'm giving him a pass.
At least I bashed a troll. You guys are bashing legends of the game.
If we have Earl and Jason on, the views are just going to go and skyrocket. So, especially Earl with this guy.
Yeah, don't do that.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
You know, I do 12,000 push-ups, and you won't even give me the respect today.
How strong is that?
I jumped the whole table with a Mucci.
On that note, boys, I got to run because I got to go to the post office.
All right, we're getting